Gepards in Ukraine. The German Predator shows its temper with brilliance. In early December last year, the German authorities announced they intended to send their last 7 Gepard self-propelled air defense systems to Ukraine in the spring. According to Spiegel, these are the last models from the stockpile which were to be disposed of. At the moment, these self-propelled units are being repaired by employees of the German engineering company Krauss Maffei Wegmann GmbH & Company KG. We recall that Germany transferred 30 units of these weapons last summer to Ukraine, so after 6 months of combat operations, it's already possible to objectively assess the effectiveness of the Gepards and how much they've helped Ukraine in its confrontation with Russia. That's what we'll talk about in this video. Air defense is one of the weakest points in the Ukrainian army. Firstly, the surprise attack on Ukraine in the early hours of February 24th last year immediately destroyed many launchers of the S-300 and the Buk-1 anti-aircraft missile systems. Secondly, realizing the importance of gaining air supremacy, the Russian army went for the remaining anti-aircraft systems, destroying them with aircraft, cruise missiles, and its famous Iskander. So Ukraine desperately needed weapons to make up for those losses. This was the reason for the promptness with which Berlin delivered the Gepards to Ukraine. What is this anti-aircraft self-propelled machine? It was developed in the mid-1960s, early 1970s, and began to be supplied to the Bundeswehr in 1973. According to public sources, 588 Gepards were produced. Of these, 420 were received by the Bundeswehr. However, by 2010, the remaining 94 Gepards were removed from service and replaced by the more modern Wiesel II Ocelot self-propelled anti-aircraft missile systems. Also, there were 95 machines in the Netherlands put on mothballs. Now the Gepards continue to be operated by Brazil, Jordan, and Romania. That is far from the most militarily powerful countries. But we should not think that the Gepard is an obsolete weapon and therefore ineffective in modern wars. We're sure that after the war in Ukraine, there will be a revision of the significance of such systems, and the revival of the Gepards awaits us. Why? Let's find out together. But first, briefly about the main technical characteristics of the Gepard. The machine is based on the Leopard 1 tank chassis, and judging by its mass, 47.3 tons, is well protected. At least the main Russian tanks, which are massively used in Ukraine, T-72 and T-90, weigh even less, namely 46 tons. The chassis has a V-shaped 10-cylinder liquid-cooled diesel engine with 830 horsepower, which allows the Gepard to accelerate on the highway to a speed of 65 kilometers an hour and overcome climbs up to 60 degrees. The chassis has a 360-degree rotating turret with 2 35mm automatic cannons by the Swiss company Oerlikon GDF. The rate of fire is 550 rounds per minute each. That's a total of 1,100 rounds per minute. The projectile, weighing 550 grams, leaves the barrel at a velocity of 1,175 meters per second. Each gun is equipped with a sensor that measures the projectile's initial velocity and transmits this data to the onboard computer of the fire control system. The maximum range of fire on aerial targets is 4,000 meters. The highest one is 3,000 meters. The effective range against targets flying with a speed of up to 400 meters per second, that is, supersonic targets, 2,500 meters. Western experts claim that, in this case, the probability of hitting the target is more than 2 times higher than that of the famous Russian Shoka. The ammunition of Gepard is 640 rounds per air targets and 40 armor-piercing shells for ground targets. The guns can be aimed vertically from -5 degrees to +85 degrees. The cannons and turret drive are fully electric. Power comes from a 40-kilowatt generator which runs from a 4-cylinder multi-fuel diesel engine, Mercedes-Benz OM314, with an output of 90 horsepower. The same engine is used to operate the ventilation system, fire control, and radar, even when the main engine is not working. The air targets are detected by the MPDR-18S pulse Doppler radar of the centimeter range. This station, with the built-in friend or foe radar, has a range of up to 18 kilometers. Once an air target is detected, it's tracked by the Albus ballistic rangefinder antenna mounted in the frontal part of the turret. The ballistic computer calculates the ballistic prejudice, and when the target enters the kill zone, the gunner opens fire at it. Both stations operate independently of each other, which allows the airspace to survey and search for new targets simultaneously with tracking the target selected for firing. The commander and gunner are fitted with 1.5 and 6x magnification telescopic sights with 50 degrees and 12.5 degrees field of view respectively. Latter vehicles can be equipped with a laser rangefinder combined with a fire control system. In addition to the 35mm guns, smoke grenade launcher units are mounted on both sides of the turret as a means of self-defense by creating a smoke screen. There's also one 7.62mm MG3 machine gun mounted on the turret. The crew of this anti-aircraft self-propelled machine gun has 3 men: the commander, operator-driver, and driver-mechanic. The arrangement of the workstations in the main console, where all the air display and fire control equipment is grouped, allows the commander and gunner to duplicate their functions when firing. The commander assesses the aerial situation, selects the most important target, the modes of operation of the radio equipment and firing, and the ammunition, and maintains external communication by radio. The gunner performs the tasks of engaging, tracking, and engaging the target, moving fire to other targets, and reviewing the airspace in a given sector using radar and optical means. The indication system allows the commander and gunner to conduct firing. The calculated probabilities of engaging in a 5M2 target at the range of 4, 3, 2, and 1 kilometer are 0.18, 0.27, 0.50, and 0.95 respectively at the 2-second burst. We'll talk about the kill probabilities later. In the conclusion about the technical characteristics, we'll say that the Gepard is considered in NATO as the best self-propelled anti-aircraft artillery unit that's ever been mass-produced in NATO countries. And it proved this in the Russian-Ukrainian war. The fact that the Gepard was written off early in the Bundeswehr became clear at the end of September last year when Russia began attacking Ukraine with Iranian Shahed 136 drones. These machines, not more than 3.5 meters long, flying at a speed of no more than 180 kilometers per hour, but carrying 30 to 40 kilograms of explosives, could be a real disaster for Ukraine. Their principle of operation is similar to that of the German FAU-2 of World War II. That is, the coordinates of the target are fed into the drone control system and it flies to it in fully autonomous mode without communication with the ground. Therefore, electronic warfare systems are powerless against it. All you have to do is shoot it down. With what? The missiles of anti-aircraft systems S-300 and Buk-1 cost about $100,000. The missiles of the Western systems, NASAMS and Iris-T, delivered to Ukraine cost up to $500,000. While the Shahed 136 with a cheap piston engine capacity compared to a lawnmower engine and a propeller made of wood cost no more than $20,000. But it's not even about the price difference. The main thing is that Ukraine has catastrophically few anti-aircraft missiles. The Soviet missiles are running out and there's no way to get them. And there are not enough Western missiles either. The West simply did not count on a war of such intensity. And in this situation, 30 Gepards have become a real bailout for Ukraine. They easily shoot down these Shaheds. According to Ukrainian soldiers, it takes 1 or 2 turns at most to destroy a Shahed 136. That's up to 14 shells. While it takes 7 to 8 rounds out of a Soviet Chika. There were cases when the Gepard also shot down Russian cruise missiles Kalibris, costing $5 to $6 million per unit. So the Gepard proved itself worthy in Ukraine. Surely its effectiveness would have been even higher, but there were big problems with its ammunition. Earlier we said that German anti-aircraft self-propelled machine is armed with 35mm Swiss guns, and the ammunition for them is also produced in Switzerland. Therefore, according to international laws, Switzerland's consent is needed to supply these shells to Ukraine, but Switzerland has proclaimed its neutrality for almost 2 centuries, so it does not give consent for re-export. The first 30 Gepards were supplied to Ukraine after a contract was concluded with a manufacturer from Norway, whose name was not disclosed, to supply the necessary ammunition. But apparently the capacity of this manufacturer is not enough, so Germany tried to negotiate with Brazil, and an agreement seems to have been reached. But in the end, Brazil refused to transfer both equipment and ammunition. Brazilians didn't want to quarrel with Russia, with whom they have close economic ties. Recall that Russia and Brazil are members of the BRICS organization. After all, the German concern Rheinmetall is already beginning to produce these munitions, so the problem will be solved. And we can only wish good luck to the Gepards. After all, they're fighting on the side of truth and helping to stop the aggressor. It's no longer a secret to many that the results of the Russian-Ukrainian war will largely determine what the world will look like for the next half-century. Calm, democratic, and developing, or militant with military cataclysms and the threat of nuclear war. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to our channel. It'd be the best reward for us. There will be many more interesting stories about modern weapons.